Okay, so just a little background on traditional martial arts. Had the same root as yoga, and then through the centuries, the masters figured out that there was war all around them at all times, right? So some of them taught different people how to use exercises so that they can meditate for longer. In other places, they just taught them how to fight so that they didn't get robbed or their country didn't get invaded. So while there are some movements that are yogic-like movements, you can in-block and out-block and get the same benefits from the health perspective, but still also be able to prepare yourself for war. So we do still maintain the purely yogic type movements in this lineage. And I'll show you some of those at the end, because those are really what energy is all about and how energy is derived. But like I said, it might be a yoga type movement, but that could also be a in-block, up-block, and then ducking and striking the groin. So just one piece on energy. I know that none of us were really raised in our textbooks learning about energy, so I think it's foreign to all of us, even somebody who's been doing it for 12, 13 years. I think I still have very much of a Western mind on it, but I think we can all recognize a moment where somebody told you you had a all paid for Hawaiian vacation next week and all your work was taken care of, you'd be full of energy running around the place, right? And it had nothing to do with how much you exercised earlier that day, it had nothing to do with how much you ate, it had nothing to do with how good your sleep was. There's some type of internal energy inside of all of us that can be activated. Mentally is certainly one way, and then through mental concentration and certain exercises is another way. And I think quantum physics is coming more and more in alignment with this and bringing this more to more and more people, that we know that there's energy all around us at all times. So with that being said, the 8 styles. Oh, is that my?
Yeah, it's my shoes.
Oh, no. He's trying to, he wants in on that. So I'll show you first Taekwondo. This is the least of, I would say, energetically the martial arts. This one's really just designed for combat. So. It's really just very straightforward, very linear blocks and attacks. Next one is Tai Chi. Tai Chi is a lot more connecting to energy through fluidity of movements. That's Tai Chi Chuan. A little bit more advanced level of Tai Chi Chuan would be like this. Now I'll come back to that one a little bit later. Jiu-Jitsu is how to roll and fall without injury. So even if you're on concrete, you should be able to fall, and the ground is not very forgiving, or do a full front roll without injury. That's the idea. And the main thing there, Jiu-Jitsu means gentle light, and so there's a lot of strength to be had through being soft, right? Being relaxed. And I remember reading a story a long time ago. A woman knocked herself out at the top of some stairs when she was in her 80s. Fell all the way down these concrete stairs, like 2 or 3 flights. And then basically came to without a scratch on her, no broken bones, no nothing. And just her being totally relaxed as she went down all the stairs, basically is what saved her. Right? It's the same thing with people who drink a lot, get into accidents, same thing happens. So that's the idea with that. Kung Fu, probably one of the more interesting. Actually, let me show you Bago first. So Bago is circular walking technique. Show you a few different switches. And so the circular walking, as some of the students know, that's to bring up your energy. One of the most common things people notice from that, they'll do the walk, sit down, meditate, wake up, everything's way brighter. And that's just a indication of energy being built in the body. Basically being able to see with a little bit more vibrance. All right, then there's the 18 Chinese weapons. So I'll show this one just because it's a little bit fun, a little bit more interesting. This one is not exactly, there are certain weapons that really develop the mind, and that was the purpose of traditional martial arts weapons. Was there were shorthand forms that you could do just to defend your homeland, but the reason that practitioners would practice for hours a day is to actually try to gain an expanded level of consciousness so that they could then sit down and meditate. It was actually more of a mental consciousness practice than just preparation for warfare. There are certain weapons that are really specific towards that type of thing. This is not so much one of them, but this one's a very good teacher if you don't do it correctly. So hopefully I do it correctly. Then, your request?
Size.
Two swords? Did you say?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'll do a single one. And then, since I'm already a little bit out of breath, I'll show you drunken form. So, you know that one? And interesting history with it. It actually came from masters who would meditate for long periods of time would come out of their caves, would be totally groggy, right, drunk with energy. And they'd be trying to practice, move around. And then they'd look like somebody you could take advantage of, right? And then somebody would try to rob them and they'd find out that it was a big mistake. So, and then people figured out that this form, if you practice it, really increases circulation because you're acting like you're drunk. And there were also legends of people actually drinking and using this form. So. That's within the Kung Fu. That's all Kung Fu there. And then I'll show you the last art is samurai sword. So samurai sword, if you know anything about, read up on the life of Miyamoto Musashi. Really, really interesting guy. But these guys were said to have attained incredibly high mental states through the practice of the samurai sword. And he's a real historical figure. You can look him up. He went around, had 60 one-on-one battles with the top samurais in Japan. He would use a wooden sword. They would have a metal sword. And these were battles to the death, which, however we feel about it, it shows that this guy had an amazing mental capacity. He's also in a lot of battles, a lot of wars. But really interesting character. When he was older, he wrote a book, Book of Five Rings. Look it up. The first 3 or 4 chapters are all about warfare, and then the last chapter is it's hard to even understand. It's kind of like reading the Tao Te Ching. You read that. But they're supposed to be very heavy weapons, so you couldn't just fly around with them like I was just flying around. You had to, when you decide, you decide. So it was known for being a very focus-oriented, committed art. Once you make a decision, you make that decision fully. So. That's the samurai sword. Then we already saw Aikido tonight. Last one I'll do, then we'll get to our food, this is the yogic movements. So you can gain internal energy many different ways. You can gain it through going through forms over and over and over. You can gain it through holding lower body positions. You can gain it through mental concentrations, all types of things. What I'm about to show you is one of the strongest ways to gain that internal energy. participating. Thank you for coming and supporting us for our training. Let's eat some food. Awesome. Thanks a lot.